Welcome, wickedly divine listeners. Or wickedly divine twin flames? I don't know. I'm just playing with it. So, for those of you DFs and DXs, or if you're a DM with DM, you are here and you want an energy update on what DM is doing if he is mixed in with karmics. Now, keep in mind, one, if you call somebody a karmic, you're also binding them into your story for certain lengths of time when you're not 100% sure they are karmics. Um, I've gotten away from using that term for a lot, though I'm bringing it back in because I'm determined we're going to alchemize some of that stuff, okay? But for right now, for ease of use, because I'm leaning into my shadows too, and sometimes, you know what, I want to be lazy too. So I'm going to say that karmics are circumstances that they're in, family dynamics, family members, girlfriends, boyfriends, friends, thoughts that cycle through their minds. That's karmic, okay? We all have our karmics too. So recognize that if your DM, if you feel like he's wrapped up with karmic people or situations or things like that, guess what? You are too. And you better motherfucker take a look at it. Because whether or not he gets free of his first or later or now or whatever, you're still going to have to work on yours if you're spending all your time looking at his. Though I know from personal experience that it can be a little bit soothing to have an idea of what is going on with your DM before you go back to your beautiful feminine energy and doing your thing. So here's the deal. Make sure that you go and listen to my other video that I just did not long ago, where I talked about shadow storms and new earth. That is also collective energy. This is more focused collective for the twin flame community, for um, I think some star seeds and various different things like that. Either way, some of it might not resonate for you, all of it might. You get to discern and decide what is relevant for you and what isn't. I will offer you a caution right now, though. The energy and the space that I'm in right now, if you're feeling fragile about anything or you feel like you might be easily triggered, you either go back to my earlier videos, Path of the Empress or Path of the Emperor or anything like that, and look at something that's a little more soothing, or find someone else who speaks your vibrational language. It don't have to be me. All right. I love you all. So, DMs currently are, if they've been stuck in, say, codependent dynamics, or they've been in the energy of like, what will my family think, what will people think, stuff like that, and or they've been in like commitments with karmic people, or like marriages, higher commitments, houses, things like that, those DMs are going through it right now. So honey, it's time to put into practice in your daily life all of that delicious self-love you've been working on, all of that healing, all of that feeling of wholeness, the wholesomeness. It's time to put that to use and show off a little bit, okay? Don't worry about no contact. Don't worry about no communication. It's time for you to be in a place where you've learned some of the appropriate lessons. Like, you don't need to know everything all the time, and that the universe is constantly bringing you pleasant surprises, and that everything is always working out better than believed and faster than expected, especially when you get into a place where you're having fun, because time flies when you're having fun, baby, right? So if you're listening to this, that is your advice from the universe. Get into a space where you are genuinely having fun. And primarily, you should be able to be in a space where you're having fun for you. If you feel like you got to have someone to go out with you, to go out to the bar, to go out to the bookstore, to go out to the lake, no, man, you just be better to sit down and buckle up, because you're right in the middle of the shadows, and them shadow storms are going to be like, it's almost like that scene in what is the Harry Potter book? Well, I'm going to say the movie because a lot more people, unfortunately, have only seen the movie, but that's okay. Like the scene where they open the locket, and like, I believe it was just Harry and Hermione who were at it, but remember that like big tornado-y thing, and like it had weird versions of them that were distorted, and like their ego-y stuff? It's very Lady of the Lake energy, like I've been talking about in a whole lot of my videos, right? It's you facing your shadow self. And so if you're in a place where you're feeling fragile about stuff, or you're like, oh my gosh, what's my DM doing? Why isn't he choosing me? You're right in the middle of it, baby. You're right there. At that point, like, your choice, your choice is like, are you going to keep letting people mistreat you? Are you going to keep mistreating yourself? Are you going to keep being small? Because it's not even easier if you think about it. The more times that you let people speak to you disrespectfully or talk shit about you or things like that, if you're not either willing to say, hey, I deserve better than that and I'm going to expect better than that, and or be willing to say, you know what, I'm going to walk my fine ass out of here. I'll be back when you guys feel more secure. If you're not able to do that, you're in the middle of the shadow storm, baby. And the best thing to do at that point is to allow yourself to look at your shadows from a reflective state, not from a, that person was mean to me, or they don't understand, or I'm not feeling good, or I'm hormonal, or I'm a parent, blah, 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 blah. Like, if you get into that victim-y energy, just buckle up and hold on, because by the end of it, you're going to recognize why that was never actually beneficial to you ever. Okay? Now, DMs at this point, if they're still in karmic entanglements, especially with people, okay, or family dynamics, or the whole I gotta choose what people expect of me shit, guess what? They're right in the middle of the shadow storm too. In fact, I could probably guarantee you that it is most of these DMs that are the origin, the ground zero of these shadow storms. They have likely already for a while now been in a place of bucking up about it, right? And you can see that especially if you are feeling that energy, right? So now these DMs who are probably feeling like life ain't fair, they've probably been around karmic people. They're life ain't fair, I never get the breaks, or that person's mean, or I helped them and then they were mean to me. Like, they might be in that. The DMs have been around that energy for a long ass time, and now they're getting to a place of, you know what? You know what? We're not going to do this anymore. And I'm not going to get super mad at you. I'm not going to blow up at you. Although some of them, though, it depends on their cycles. Like, if that's been a thing, if conflict avoidance has been their thing, guess what they're going through right now? Like, massive conflict. Like, Spirit's like, oh, you want to ignore me? Like, when you're sitting there praying to me for answers, praying for me to show you who loves you for real, you're praying to me to have more money, you're praying to me to have more peace and quiet and shit, and then you're going to ignore me? You know, like, that's what Spirit's like. I mean, okay, I'm just going to give you everything you asked for all at once then. All at once. And you know how many of these DMs that have been watching you, DFs and DXs, like, get to your emotionally secure place and you're comfortable. Some of you may have been dating a little bit. Others might be accepting awards, or maybe money's flowing in, or maybe you ain't got none of that, but you're just clearly very stable regardless of what happens. Or maybe you are one of the DFs or DXs that's like liberating people. You're like stepping into that the shadow power of self-righteous indignation, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna be tough love Care Bear right now. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna speak the things. I'm gonna speak the things that I'm thinking, that I know a lot of people are thinking, and I'm gonna alchemize that. And if people only get a part way through it and it's triggered by the first half, I'm not gonna be responsible for that. You know, if either way, you're showing your DMs how to do how to do the thing, how to walk the walk, how to talk the talk, how to be an adult, right? How to be in your own lane. You're showing them that. And the irony is, like, most of them, like I said, they're the origin port they're the origin point of a lot of these shadow storms, because here's the thing, we all get all whiny about these positions that we get into where it's kind of called ego traps, right? Where we'll be like, well, I can't make a different decision, this person won't like me, or that person won't help me, or I won't have any money, or I'll be in this and I'll be in that. And when we're doing that, we're telling the universe we want more of that rather than less of that, especially because the universe don't recognize contraction. So every time you go, I'm never going to do that again, you just told the universe, I'm going to do that again, right? And when you say, I don't want that, you tell the universe, I want that. And the universe is like a big child. Like, I mean, like between like ages, I want to say 3 and like 15. Okay. So the universe does have points where it's like, okay, like, I'll just give it to you. Like, this is what you're saying that you want, I'll give it to you. You're probably not going to like it. You're always complaining. Like, listen to all the, like, Abraham Hicks videos and all the other gurus that do stuff. Well, you know what people are doing? They're complaining. They're like, but I don't have this thing in exactly the way that I want it, and I'm not getting the attention in exactly the way I want it. And everybody will tell you, you probably prefer the journey in the way that it's going because you're learning a lot more along that way. If the universe just gave you everything that you wanted right and you asked for it, you'd probably not be very happy. Though the universe is like, you know what? All of the gates and portals have lined up. I'm just going to drop it all in your lap. Here you go. Bam. So guess what? Those DMs that have been asking for a lot of stuff and have not been getting it, it's all going to be dropped in, the good and the bad. You're probably going to go through this too, right? If you've been manifesting a lot of money, if you've been asking for kindness, respect, if you've been wanting support, you're going to get it. And also, if you've been wanting something that's not, like if you've been saying a whole lot of like, I don't want this, I don't want that kind of stuff, you're going to get that stuff too, right? So make sure that you, in your own thinking, you're like, I want that. Like when you get to a place where you're like, I don't like this or I don't want that, immediately go, what do I like? What do I want? Because then you're going to practice that more, and then your mind is naturally going to be in a place where it tends to observe the things it wants and feels good about a lot more than the stuff that it does not like. And then when you are facing your own shadows, you can look at them and see what you like. And that is a power right there. That's true power right there, okay? That's Pluto power. Now, these DMs, a lot of them have been doing a lot of delicious work, though some of them are not necessarily going to be in the place where they're conscious enough to recognize this. That's okay, though. Because a lot of times when we get ourselves in these ego traps and we manifest all this stuff in and we're like in a place of like avoiding accountability and all this other stuff, it's in those moments that we get ourselves into such a sticky fucking mess that suddenly we burst forth kind of like rockets, right? And we set things straight. We let our self-righteous indignation out. We tell people how it is. We tell people how we are. We allow people to walk away. We allow people to stay. We allow people to do what they want. And we just become ourselves. You don't like it, you don't have to be here. You don't like it, you don't have to watch. You don't like it, you don't have to listen. Without being in it. Well, okay, if you're not in a very healed state, like a lot of these masculines have done really good work. I'm not even joking. Like the collective of those that I'm picking up on that I'm reading for this, I don't care how, like if you're a person that's sitting there going, well, it's not that much work, get the fuck off my video. Like, you need to go back to the basic square one of recognizing that even if you're correct, that they're not where you would like them to be, that is your challenge. That is for you to heal. You don't like it when people look at you and you're having a harder time doing something. They're like, you're not fast enough. You're so far behind. You don't fucking like it when people do that to you. Don't do that to your DM, especially if you think he's your DM. Same thing with I don't care, you're karmic with the fucking person. You're learning too. Guess what? If you're a karmic to a DM or a DF, they are karmic to you too. Both of them. Because if you're involved in this stuff, you're supposed to meet your twin flame too. That's how it works, baby. We're all supposed to do good work. There isn't any of that bullshit about some people come into the world just to be karmics. They're just bad people. No. Somebody who's telling you that, they're telling you about themselves, okay? And even they are not stuck in that position. Everybody here is on a healing journey. Everybody processes and does it in their own way. And if you have been doing your self-healing, then you are in a space where you recognize that some people can look like they are taking the longest motherfucking time ever. And then one day they're right there next to you and fine. And it's only if you are not in a healed enough space to be okay with that without a whole bunch of talk about a bunch of other fucking apologies or your past version of you and shit like that. If you push it away because you're afraid to love or they might hurt you again, you're the one who needs to go work on your healing. It don't matter whether they do or they don't, baby. It's about you and you. It's about your integrity. Doing the right thing, whether anybody's looking or not, whether there's any reward in it or not, period. Okay? So these DMs, a fair amount of them, they're not, at least from your perspective, quite there yet. Though you recognize that they got great power within them, you would not have known they were your DM. You would not have picked them. You would not have been like, yeah, this person is there. If you didn't believe that. And if you don't believe that, you're not ready yet. Go back. Go back and learn from the beginning because you got a few more cycles to do. And it's going to take even longer if you're uncomfortable with that. Or you want to be like, but I've already shed my ego. I've already gone through ego death. Yeah, you're going to have more. It's going to keep happening. It's going to keep going on and on. It gets lighter and more comfortable when you find gratefulness for that. And you find joy in that. When you don't get on yourself and go, oh no, I'm having a bad season in my life. You know what I mean? So these DMs, some of them are in a place where they recognize it and they're enjoying it. They're like, this is crazy, though. I'm glad that I'm conscious in this, and I'm going to go with it. I'm going to say the things. I'm ready to say the things. Others are going to be in a space of like, oh my God, why is everything on top of me right now? You know, like they're going to be in that space of like, I thought I was doing good work. And they're going to be getting all sorts of like blessings and abundance and also a shit ton of shadow storms. And they'll be like, what the fuck? You know, there's a fair amount of DFs and DXs are going to do that too. But this is specifically for a lot of DMs that have been stuck in karmic situations with karmic family, karmic lovers, karmic kids, like all that shit. But here's the really beautiful part. If this is something you resonate with, as in you know your person's going through it, or they're real quiet right now and stuff like that, you know some really miraculous, beautiful, magical stuff is about to happen. So the best thing that you can do is be ready to be ready. Like Abraham Hicks talks about, be ready to be ready. And what that means right now is you need to be in a place where you can both be, I'm just going to be weird to say, you need to be as comfortable in your Doris Day version as you are in your Pippi Longstocking version, as you are in your Morticia version of you, as you are in like all the different flowing feminine energies that are a part of you, and also being comfortable being in your masculine energy. You want to be in a space where it's like, oh, what was I gonna say, like June Cleaver, you could bake a pie and feel happy about it, kiss your partner on the way and be good with your kids. And then you could also be like Wednesday Addams in the scene with the Thanksgiving, to where like she totally turned around and be like, we're gonna scalp you, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying do that to anyone, but I mean that sort of like mischievous energy. One of the things I loved about Wednesday Addams is like she was good at mindfuckery, okay? Like, which is a thing, look it up. Like, but please, only consensual mindfuckery, okay? Anyways, not to mention, like, you don't have to fuck with people's minds. They fuck with their own minds plenty. You just have to be yourself and not worry about how anybody feels about it. That's how you get that shadow power. That's how you're able to flow in the world in a way that actually creates beautiful effects on the rest of the collective consciousness, because you can flow. And this is, like I said earlier on Divine Feminine, this is the place where you get to show off your emotional stability, your emotional security. If you got yourself a house, if you moved, if you lost weight, if you went to therapy, if you did a channel, if you started a business, like whatever shit that you've been doing, talk about it. The only reason the world often doesn't talk about this is, one, either they're trained not to boast, which is fine. There's a difference between boasting and actually talking about stuff that you deserve to talk about and feel good about yourself for. Don't do it with the space of like, oh my gosh, is anyone going to like my post, or will they support me? Like, do it because you're proud of yourself. Do it for positive pride, okay? And be in that space where you're like, yeah, baby, I'm delicious. You know what I mean? And my shadows and my light, all this stuff. Be in that space and then go do something. I don't care if it's like an artsy thing. Like, maybe I've been talking with somebody else about, you know what, go out and go into the woods and build a shrine to a brand new deity that you just made up. You know what I mean? Or like, go get some gnomes from the dollar store and like put them around some park so some kid is like, whoa, that's beautiful. Or, this is going to be funny to say, like, use some washable markers and go to like a bathroom stall, write like a letter of appreciation to the maintenance staff that have to come in and paint that shit all the time because people graffiti on it. Like, do something that makes you feel delicious, okay? Like, take sidewalk chalk and go write song lyrics on the sides of sidewalks. You know it'll wash away later. You might make somebody's day. You might be that person's spirit guide. You might have just offered an incredible sink. Go get a what is it? One of those kind of whiteboard stickers that you can put on the back of a car and write whatever you want on it, and write something incredible or simple, like, thank you for being born. How about that? You know what I mean? Get out there and do something that no matter what happens next, no matter how absurd, crazy, unstable, beautiful, stable, changeable. Like, no matter what happens, you can look back at your story and go, I did that thing and that was delicious and great. I don't, maybe you don't, maybe something happens and you get to hear about something cool that it did, or maybe you don't, but you know that you did something that was fun, that benefited the world in some sort of way, and that alchemizes some of the energy in the world that brings people down. Ain't that a beautiful thing that a person like you would even consider doing? Don't you deserve to be able to go, yeah, that's me, right? So right now, you need to be ready to be ready. Because here's the thing, like, there's no wrong answers. A lot of these DMs are getting out of their karmic situations. Long time ones. I'm talking decades long. I'm talking with their families, people that they've been tied into through contracts and lease and marriages and children and stuff like that. Like, in fact, they might even unload you for a while just because they're just like just everybody. You know what I mean? Be okay with that. Because one, you know how attractive it is that especially a man in this world or masculine in this world can be like, you know what, I'm just tired of everybody, I'm cutting you off too, and know that they can come back to you and you'll be like, it's all good. That's kind of adorable. You know what I mean? Like, be soft in that way with people who deserve it, right? With people who deserve it. And if you feel like they are your DM and you have been acknowledging how they've been growing just like you, even if you experience it as a different pace than yours. And remember also, we're not always supposed to learn the same lessons. If you're always reflecting in that, like, if they have karmic relationships, so do you, but it might be more so with one particular family member for you, where for them it might be a romantic interaction. It's actually a very beautiful thing that you're not going through exactly the same work, because when you go to do your work as a united twin flame couple, or as friends, or as co-parents, or as family members, whatever fucking thing, you're comfortable with what flows in and what doesn't, and you're in a place to where it's safe to be a fucking human. Human beings are going to do all sorts of different things, and when you drop a little bit, they're going to be able to pick you up because they have some different skills than you do, because they process things different than you do, because there's certain differences in the way that they grew up that give them strengths where you've got some growth opportunities, and where they've got some growth opportunities, you've got the strength or the courage or the words or the feelings or the ability to simply hold space and love everybody till they learn to love themselves without having bad boundaries. Whatever it is, okay? So I'm going to leave this here because I feel like it. And I'm doing what I feel like these days. I'm going to say this, though. DMs are busting out. Some of them, it might be a few days, some it might be a few weeks, some it might be a few months, some it might be another year. Find a way to be grateful for that and to look for something beautiful and delicious that you can look back, whether it's a day or a year of your life, and go, wow, I did that. It was fun, and sometimes it was just me, and sometimes it was other people, and I wasn't sure exactly what was going to go on with everything, but I just reminded myself I don't need to know everything, and Spirit likes to constantly pleasantly surprise me, and that I'm just going to have fun, because I know time flies when you're having fun. So whether it's a day, a year, 10 years, whatever, I'm going to have a blast. And by the time that I do line up with my twin, man, I am so looking forward to that day. I'm already going, Alright, y'all, I'm going to end this video the way that I started, because remember, endings lead to new beginnings, and that is beautiful. Alright, y'all, I love you, and I'll catch you next video.